Hello everyone and welcome to a video on Asmongold critics, which I just think it's funny when people are critical of Asmongold's decisions on whatever it is, right? Tend to just be dumb, right? For those who want the background of Asmongold, he's an edgelord, don't give a fuck kind of guy. You will not be able to make him give a fuck. He doesn't do that, right? And so when people on the right or left try to make him give a fuck, it doesn't do anything, right? He's never actually said anything too like bad ever, like too edgy. Except like one time, kinda with Palestine. Even then, it wasn't really that. It was definitely the edgiest he's been, though, and he's never been quite as edgy since. But really, like, I can understand like people saying chill out with that. Like, you know, his dad kind of said that as well. I understand that, right? But apparently a couple people don't understand that. So there's this guy who is critical of the people hating on him on the left, right? So there's left-wing people who are hating on him, and that's why he got fired from OTK. And then there's this guy who is critical of him for being too left-wing. Now, this is what we have. This is what we call the situation. We call this is a John Bane of their existence, right? For those who don't know who John Bane is more appropriate. John Bane was the Cynical Brit, Total Biscuit, one of the best YouTube critics ever, and one of the most consistent ones. He was always fighting for, consumer advocacy, right? He was always a consumer advocate, which basically means he advocates for the rights to the customer, regardless of, as in he advocates that companies be more fair to the customer and that governments allow that companies that are fair to their customer to continue to exist apolitically, right? As in basically, if there's a service that people want to purchase, they should be allowed to purchase it. And if people don't want to purchase something because they feel it's scummy, he wants to be the voice of what they think is scummy, right? About it, right? And he was always very fair on everything, right? To both sides of that aisle on that, because, you have to talk about the government and the consumer and the corporation. There's the three sides, actually. So he's always fair on all the sides of that conversation whenever he did any angles of it. But he was always mostly for the consumer. And he was very consistent with it. And Asmongold is fairly consistent as well. So this is why I find these guys kind of funny, right? So we're going to start with Quasar. And you'll see, like, right off the bat why I don't like this one.
For America.
I don't know how, bro. Like, after seeing all the crazy shit that happens in New York, it really is no surprise that Gotham City is based off of New York. I mean, New York's turned...
It's actually based off of New Jersey, funnily enough, because back when the comics were written, New Jersey was like that. Like, you were talking about Trenton, Camden City, those are like the places where you wouldn't think that they were that bad, but they, like, when comics were written, they were awful. Like, outside of Chicago, that was the worst place to live in America at the time. And even then, like, when I was a kid, they were the worst places to live by far. New York City actually was very good in the early 2000s, right? This is very new. Well, not really very new. Like, in the 80s, it was like this. But in the 80s and late 2000, I guess 2020, right? Late 2010, and then the early 2020s, it was like this again. Like about 2013, when Black Lives Matter started, I guess, right? That makes sense. Like, it was about 2013. I don't think it started with Black Lives Matter, because I think, like, it was a little after the Mark Brown stuff, right? It might have been in response to not Trayvon Martin, sorry. Tamir Rice, who was like a guy that actually was murdered by the officer, unlike Mike Brown. It's Mike Brown, not Mark Brown. Anyway, unlike Mike Brown, who tried to kill the guy, Tamir Rice, like, there is no way anyone with a brain can say, oh yes, shooting the guy before you even fully stop the car for playing with a toy, that's not defensible, my guys. You know, it's a 12-year-old kid playing with a toy. I don't give a fuck, you know? Like it's a toy, right? But they decided, instead of treating it like the obvious toy it was, that they would shoot the kid. Because apparently that's going to teach him a lesson. Killing him, right? Like, the entire point of using officers in that scenario is to teach them a lesson. So you want to take them fucking alive, right? Like, but the officers were like, okay, I'll teach him a lesson by shooting him to death. Like, anyone who knows the situation and has ever, like, actually done, like, called the cops on a kid aiming people with a toy gun, you know exactly what it's supposed to do, and that's not what it's supposed to do. Everyone knows that you're supposed to... First off, that would imply that the caller was also on some shit, right? Or the police officer just ignored the caller's instructions. Because usually what happens is the callers will do what's known as an intervention thing, right? Where they'll say, hey, this kid's playing with his toys in a way that he shouldn't. Let's do like something to get him scared straight, right? That's usually what happens, right? So either the call was done very incorrectly, or the officer just wanted to kill someone and get away with it. Regardless, that was pretty shitty. But that wasn't the Mike Brown shit that was all over the news. This one got like weeks of news coverage during the Mike Brown stuff, and then after it, I didn't even hear about Tamir Rice again until after like the trial had already ended and the guy was found not guilty, right? And, like, that's the thing. Like, everyone talks about like the Mike Brown shooting or the George Floyd thing, but no one talks about Tamir Rice. You know, like the one that actually was probably like blatantly fucking murdered, and like it was just a little innocent kid. Like George Floyd, yeah, he was murdered. It was proven in court. If you look at any of the autopsies with a brain that actually knows how to read the paper, all of them have concluded murder. Like they all concluded homicide by strangulation. You know, like, yeah, one said he had like a 1,000th of the lethal dose of fentanyl. That's actually the dose, by the way. He would need to take 1,000 times that to kill himself, basically. In fact, to put this in perspective of how little fentanyl was in his system, it takes about 200 times that to kill an infant. Okay, so yeah, like he didn't really have shit in him. He had micrograms. People interpreted that as nanograms. I know he had nanograms. I believe people interpreted that as micrograms. I believe. No, wait. He had micrograms in him. People interpreted that as milligrams. I think that's what it was, right? Anyway, he had he had like molecular sizes of it in him. It's nanograms, and they interpreted it as micrograms. There we go. But the people don't know how to fucking read the paper. He didn't have shit in him. He had like a molecule's worth. That's not going to do anything to anyone. That wouldn't even get you high, to be honest. Like, you need a little bit more than that to even get high. So what that means, by the way, what that shows is that he had it in his system from using it like a week ago, right? Like, because that's how long that shit'll stay in your system. You'll have a couple drops of it in your blood weeks from then on. So he clearly did it. He had poor health, but the autopsy that mentioned that also mentioned that the strangulation from the knee contributed it. So regardless, people talk all about those. You can just look it up. It's on the top. The rest of the shit is to show that it can't be anything else. people don't know like the actual things they're reading, so they interpret symbols to mean the exact opposite of what they mean and say, oh, he had 10 times the lethal dose, and in reality he had jack shit. You look at the autopsies, and actually look up the lethal dosage of drugs and shit. You will find that anyone who said that he had a lethal dosage of fentanyl in him lied to you. Like, he did have some because it stays in your blood for like a while, right? But he didn't have anywhere damn near a lethal dose. He was not high off of it, I'll say that. He definitely took a pill, but what was he high off of, right? That could have been anything. But since it clearly wasn't fentanyl, that's all we need to know. In fact, another thing is fentanyl takes about an hour to get in your system as well. So he died within 10 minutes of taking that pill. So regardless, that's not what killed him. So yeah, we know what killed him. But regardless, that was proven in court. And that would have been proven in court regardless of the riots. That's another thing. I don't give points to Black Lives Matter for their bullshit, just like I don't give points to the anti-Black Lives Matter to their bullshit saying he was only in prison because of the riots. He's in prison because he's guilty. He murdered someone. That's why he's in prison. Why do you think Kyle Rittenhouse isn't in prison, right? Why do you think the officer that killed Mike Brown, who had far more intense riots at the time, isn't in prison, right? If the only one who was in prison, is the one that was proven guilty in the autopsy, maybe that's what it is. Maybe people just, juries thought, oh, okay, this guy's guilty, so we're going to mark him as guilty. Right? Whereas all the other juries were like, well, I can't prove he's guilty here, so I'm gonna go with innocent, right? So that's what happens, right? Now I think in the Tamir Rice case there could have been proof of guilt, but clearly it seems like there wasn't enough evidence. Granted, I only saw the fucking one video because that's all they fucking showed. Again, the news didn't really cover that one that much. But that's the thing. Like, that one, I assume the officer was guilty and got away with it. But you know what? Law is law. He's innocent until proven guilty. So we couldn't prove he was guilty in a court of law. So therefore, he's innocent. That's how it works, But more importantly, right, these riots are new in New York, right? I think like 2013, 2014, this shit started going on a lot more again. But in like the early 2000s, this was not a thing. I can tell you because I used to fucking live around there, right? And we would visit all the time. It wasn't like that. It got like that, right? In fact, I have a friend who lives there. It wasn't like that in the early 2000s. But it is now.
Yeah. Liberals just hate New York.
But yeah, New York City is not the basis of Gotham. I think Trenton most likely is. Like, Chicago might also be an inspiration. It is like located in New Jersey. If you look at the DC map, it's in New Jersey. Just so you know. There is a DC map where they show like where locations are in their version of Earth, and I believe Metropolis is New York City, right? And then Gotham City is fucking Trenton, right? Something like that. And then like Chicago, I think is, I forget. Is that I think it's either Green Arrows City, and if it's not Green Arrows City, it's Flashes, I believe, right? I forget which is which. And I forget which one's the other one too. There's a fourth city that there's four main cities in the comics, right? Five if you count Kahndaq, but that's obviously Egypt. We're talking about United States ones.
This is what it ends.
Into a PvP server.
2 people in custody tonight after the FBI search of a Diamond District pawn shop.
The two men had been buying stolen luxury items from South America.
Yeah, this guy's mad at Asmongold for basically saying that he could understand why the criminals are doing it because the law in there is not doing its job.
Groups and then reselling them at their store.
So the owners of this store right here are in FBI custody for allegedly working with a South American robbery crew to sell stolen items.
Wow.
Some of which were taken from the homes of professional
What? Wow?
athletes and
That's it?
other wealthy individuals all across
Jesus.
America by a gang of Chilean immigrants.
Look at his face. Is he like pretending? He doesn't care. He thinks this is a joke.
Residing
He doesn't. Why would he care?
in the
Like these people are just doing what they want to do, right? Yeah, they're being little shitlords, but they're getting away with it. So why would they not, right?
Legal immigrants coming into America, killing Americans, stealing from them. And he's like, oh, wow. That's what you get from a Bernie Sanders voter. And the last video, he literally just said, oh, I would have voted for Bernie Sanders, actually, instead of Trump. Bernie Sanders is the best.
Yeah, I don't think the first thing to note about Asmongold is that he jokes a lot. He's very edgy. I do this all the time with Bernie, right? Like, I don't think Bernie is actually a effective politician at all. That's why he never fucking wins. I think he would have been better than fucking Biden. But I feel like anyone would have been better than fucking Biden. I mean, legitimately, Trump was voted because Biden won. I'll be honest, right? If they put anyone else besides Biden on that ticket, and then that person won, Donald Trump wouldn't have won this term. I don't think that it's even that much debate here. Trump won this term because of Biden's fuck-upperies. Everyone talks about how Kamala did or whatever. Are we really paying attention to the fact that Trump's biggest attack ad towards Kamala was an unedited clip of her saying she would do everything the same way Biden did? That is his attack ad. Like, that was an attack ad by Donald Trump. And that was one of his most effective. That's what got me to fucking vote for him. Right? Like, yeah. You know, like, that's the attack ad. If that's the attack ad against someone, right? Do you honestly think, right? Honestly, that it's okay that the state that the country's in? Oh, I'm just going to do everything the same way that it was already done because we're doing good. It's an attack ad, right? Her saying that unedited was an attack ad on Trump. You can look on the YouTube channel for his campaign. So people are saying all this shit. The biggest attack ad by Donald Trump wasn't anything to do with wokeness or transness or whatever. It was, I wouldn't change a thing, right? People know the country's state was fucked up economically and all that, so they said no. Everyone's talking about this, that, or that on the YouTube sphere, but if you go outside, right, talk to someone, go to a fucking bar, right, hang out with real actual people offline, they say it was because, yeah, I can't fucking afford shit. And it's going to take a bit to get to that state, which is why people are frustrated with how things are going, but they'll probably be less frustrated. I'd say not come March, but definitely come April, right? Because he's going to take a couple of months to really get into effects, right? And once people notice their taxes decrease, they're going to start to feel better, and then, you know, that's how things are going to go, right? But yeah, things aren't going too well right now for Trump, but that's because of, you know, it takes a bit of time to do any long-term solutions. The long-term solutions are defunding a few of the bureaucracies that are just fucking wasting money in money laundering. People are talking about like wokeness because like the things that they use were like, oh, it's going to the trans rights for people in Uganda. Now, I, as an observer of Ugandan politics, know that Ugandans have no trans rights. They don't even have gay rights, right? So how would that how is that fund a thing if if it's funding something that doesn't exist? Now, what people on the Grifton side say is that that's funding it to happen. Now, what I understand is that that's money laundering. That money isn't leaving the country, but it's just not being spent on civilians. It's allocated to a scam that the government was doing, right? They are spending it to make on their own pockets, effectively. Like the only gay trainee shit that they're funding is the inflation fetish of their wallets. Okay? Like I don't have to pretend that this is like, oh, they just care too much about the trans rights and I don't like them, so that's what it. No. They're wasting our money to filling their own pockets. Everyone got that. No one's that dumb.
Americans to die.
Like everyone was talking about shit like money laundering shit, like when they came to like where the money that was supposed to be allocated for the roads that's what they would said to the public where it's going, right? It didn't go to the roads. We knew that. We just knew it went to somewhere, and all of us assumed, correctly by the way, that it went to fill the lines of certain people's pockets, and that's it. These are just money laundering schemes that he's closing up. He's using the trans label to get the Heritage Foundation off his back. But in reality, it's closing up money laundering schemes. Under the guise of right-wing politics, but as a left-wing person who's just trying to close up money laundering. That's why a lot of the right politicians are also trying to avoid this, because it's not just the left that benefits from it. It's also the authoritarian right, which Trump is trying to abolish as well. Right? He's trying to abolish the authoritarianism of the left and the right. I understand like the way it's got to go. Right? He's got to grift as if he is an evangelical asshole who just wants to have the Bible rule the world, while not doing any of the things that would be beneficial to that, but pretending he is, saying he is, to get the masses to think that's what he's doing, because there are people who unfortunately don't care about their own lives or the good of humanity or the country or anything like that. They just care that fags are demonized. And so as long as he does it saying that, using the what's known as the Edge and Pedis program, right? It's a thing I just made up. But basically, he uses edgy humor to influence the government to make itself smaller and impede itself, right? Without actually implementing the things that the Edge would say, but saying he is. Right? That's why people who know. We know what's going on. We're pretending we don't. It's called keeping your mouth shut. Now, I'm a small channel that's shadow banned, so I get an advantage. By the time this channel blows up, this will already been done and I will have won.
Communist that supports fascistic regimes.
All right, so I'm Gucci, right? I can do this.
U.S. illegally living out a twisted.
Look at him just. Yeah, illegals killing American citizens, spending American taxpayer dollars, ruining the lives of Americans. Yeah. Clown, what a loser. Man.
Dude, Asmongold doesn't give a fuck. Why would he?
It is, isn't it?
Version of the American dream with the alleged help of an American business.
Disgusting.
How you guys doing?
Body camera footage showing 4 Chilean nationals being questioned by authorities last month in Ohio. And in the trunk, a Louis Vuitton bag.
Where are you guys headed to today? Orlando? Wrong way. Florida's that way.
Oh, damn.
Oh, a bunch of fucking retards. It's a Chilean. I'm fucking disgusted, bro. Everybody knows that everybody from Chile isn't like this, okay? Like that's
Yeah, sure. Oh, no, they're not like this, boys. Just let them in your house. Guy lives in a mansion with Hassan and literally says that.
some people on some racist bullshit. I think.
Bruh.
We know that you just had a few of your roaches.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to let these people in your backyard? You're a racist. Oh, my God. This guy... Bro, what are these MSN talking points? It's like he got the script from Hillary herself.
Just show up in our country to do some dumb shit. Nobody's blaming you.
No one's to blame. They just magically were here. Okay, the Democrats who voted to destroy your country, who Trump should put in prison because they went against American society. They went against American values. And Asmongold's gonna be, no, the Democrats, they're cold. Don't put them in prison. Half of America should be currently in prison for the traitors they are.
Oh no, I agree. Right, that this is the thing. Asmongold doesn't disagree with this guy, but what he's saying is he understands the mindset. Right, Asmongold understands the mindset of these people because he used to be poor as fuck. He's not anymore, so he understands that.
Accused by federal prosecutors of regularly serving as fences for South American theft groups. Their Diamond District pawn shop raided Tuesday.
Someone is trying to break into the house right now. My daughter is there. This is Joe Burrow's house.
Federal prosecutors say the thieves made off
That's why you have a gun?
roughly $300,000 in luxury items, including watches, glasses, piles of cash, and Louis Vuitton luggage.
Jesus. These are
Look at these
and they're
losers.
taking photos of themselves.
Disgusting.
What is with all the self-snitching?
Alleged gangbangers also posed wearing...
Okay, notice how, like, Asmongold is reviewing their poor criminal performance, but as a joke, but like, this is the thing. Asmongold is a litmus test for, can you understand jokes, right? Like, Asmongold will never not joke, right? He is always... he is never real. He is always humorous and edgy, right?
NFL stars JB9 and number 9
No way. They take a photo.
and chain neck.
Oh my God, look at him supporting these actions. Oh, they're so cool. They're stealing and killing Americans. So cool. Disgusting. He knows he's being disintellectually honest here. He's like, guys, be emotional. He just supports emotional manipulation of the masses by the corrupt media. It's disgusting.
Necklaces.
I have to say, this is kind of a power move, though, right?
Oh.
I mean, at a certain level, I kind of respect it.
At a certain level, I understand why Asmongold is willing to lie and choose to lie about his opinions and actions. Because if I understand him, I understand where he's coming from. If I was in his situation, I would do the same. Okay, him lying is completely normal.
I do. You got.
See, this is the thing. This is a guy who's saying he's not right-wing enough, right? And then the left are saying in here that he's too left-wing, right? This guy is a fucking dildo weed. He doesn't understand. Asmongold isn't really... Like, this is the thing, right? This is a guy who takes this shit seriously, and that's the funny bit about this, right? Like, this is awesome if you're not taking it seriously, but the problem is he's dead serious with this, and that's the issue I have. Right? Like, this is hilarious. Like, Alex Jones, like, absolutely. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's rocking that, you know? He also, congrats for using young Alex Jones and not the one that looks like he's 20 years younger, but still older and just weird looking. Like, congrats for using OG Alex Jones. New Alex Jones, just, I don't know, like that fucking way he is now, just, he looks like Dark Matter 2525. He legit looks like an atheist YouTuber I know. Like, he just, the spitting image, I mean.
You must become the victor. If you love God and you want to build a pro-human future, then you are an enemy of...
Yeah, what's funny is Warhammer 40k is, like, primarily edgy furries, and fucking has been since, like, legitimately, the guys who do the anti-furry Warhammer videos are furries. Right? Like, that's how you know that that's all, like, a joke. When the guys who are responsible for the thing in the first fucking place are openly furries themselves, you know? Like, yeah, Flash Kids, they're very openly furries. Yeah.
Here's the deal.
I mean, it should be clear at this point that anyone who gets furries enough to hate them to that level has to be a furry. Like, you can't know all of this shit about Vor and, like, these very secret, like, these very secret, like, things about the fandom. Like, I know I'm talking about, like very, very specific things about the fetishes. You can't know those niche parts about it without participating in it a little bit, you know? Like, eventually, people just gotta admit, like, yeah, furry haters that actually hate the fandom to the degree that they can actually, like, know how to criticize it instead of just, oh, the furries cringe, Taliban memes. Once you get past those, you're a furry. Because you gotta participate in it to know the really cringe, weird shit.
When you let somebody like Asmongold go,
like, that's really the issue with people who criticize porn. They end up getting into it, right? Like, I used to be very critical of trans porn, right? Yeah, that didn't go so well. Right, like, yeah. Nah, I'm just joking. I was never that. I was, however, very critical of, like, this is actually something. Feet, right? That did not go well. That actually was true. Like, I was never critical of trans porn. But I was very critical of feet. And that didn't end well for me, right? Like, because the thing is, you're attacking an object of desire, right? An object of lust. If you do that, if you dedicate yourself to that, you end up lusting. Because in order to think enough to criticize the lust, you have to think about the lust. And that's the issue, right? Like, you end up lusting over the thing you hated because you're thinking about it too fucking much. That's why all the fucking, like, raging homophobes, not the normal homophobes that'll talk about it, like, when it's brought up occasionally. I'm talking about the ones that bring it up every fucking other conversation in church and are running the church. That's why all of them are gay, right? Because only someone who wants a dick in their ass will obsess over dick so much that they'll dedicate, like, 2 monthly sermons of the, like, there are people who do that. There are preachers who preach against homosexuality twice a fucking month. There are 4 fucking sermons a month, sometimes 5, right? If the month is long and you're kind of lucky. 4 to 5 sermons, 2 of them dedicated to homosexuality being a sin. You're just fucking obsessed with booty hole at that point, right? You're not teaching them the Bible. You're teaching them about your not so secret fetishes anymore, right? Like, it's the same thing with, like, why all the people who are obsessed with being anti-trans are, like, found to have futanari porn all over them. Like, at least Synthetic Man, you can tell it's a kind of a joke and that he's really just edgy for the sake of being edgy, and he really only hates the trans side for, like, why am I not allowed to make these jokes kind of thing. I understand Synthetic Man. I don't understand, like, other transphobes, though. It's like, Fuck, you are literally talking about my dick the entire time. You know, like you're like, oh, trans humor is just sex joke. Yeah. Yeah, it is. You know what? It is, and it's great. We enjoy that. Okay? Like, you're not really fooling anyone. Like, you're cringe because all you do is make sex jokes. Yeah. And, like, I'm be honest, like, that's the defense to that. So? Right, there's nothing wrong with that. So, like, I don't even get why anyone is offended by that when that is made. Like, yeah, it's true. Why would I why wouldn't I? The sex jokes are awesome. Like, that's why I like Vivzy Pop. Like, Vivzy Pop, that was legit her defense. She's like, yeah, what's wrong with that? Like, they're sex jokes. Who the fuck cares? Everyone loves sex jokes. And that was, like, her entire defense to people criticizing her writing. And then the show makes millions of views every day. Yeah, of course.
That in and of itself is a bad.
Oh yeah, I forgot. This guy's nasal. This guy's Squidward. He's the morbidly obese guy he made fun of. I already forgot that's who this was. I just know that he has the Alex Jones thing, and I find that funny. And then I hear him speak, and then I'm annoyed.
It's one of the biggest draws on any platform that it goes.
But yeah, this guy's defending him from like left-wing extremists, which in this case I'll agree with, right? Asmongold. Also, what's funny though is this happened a month ago. Like, this happened months ago, and he left, right? He didn't get fired, he left, just so you know. He left, and people are wondering, like this is the thing, right? In the comments, people clearly don't care. I never heard of him till now. I know of who Asmongold is, but never knew OTK existed. Then you don't know who Asmongold is. Like, yeah, this is the guy, this is probably the, like, he's hating him, but, like, this is probably the only guy who really knows anything about Asmongold. Yeah, Asmongold is, like, is OTK. If you don't know what OTK is, you don't know Asmongold, because that's Asmongold's content, right? Like, what that tells me is you aren't a fan of fucking Asmongold. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's like, you're just a tourist, blatantly, right? Like, so all these tourists are hopping on his dick, and they don't even know why. Like yeah, they did destroy themselves, but do you know why? Like, because here's the thing, right? If OTK was successful before Asmongold was big, right? And you only know them through Asmongold, then they'll be successful after Asmongold leaves because Asmongold wasn't the success. The issue actually is Asmongold is OTK. Like, OTK is Asmongold, right? Like, he left the company, but it's not like, you know, it's not necessarily the death of the company, but it is like the death of their face, right? Now they have to get a new face, I guess, whatever. But Asmongold, you know, first off, it's not like Asmongold is only criticized from the fucking, you know, from the fucking left. In fact, I'd argue he's mostly criticized from the fucking right, which is the funny bit, right? These guys are clowns who don't watch Asmongold, other than like a couple of the shorts. Yeah, this is the funny thing. Like, you can tell, like, this is a sex bot. This is a fucking, this is like, this is either an NFT guy, who doesn't want to say he's an NFT guy, so he got a different monkey, or he's just an actual genuine fan who has a Mojo Jojo fetish. Like, this is a funny thing with them. This is like, I can't tell. But, like, a lot of these are clearly bots. Right? Like, see, this notice how this guy uses his name, has actual, like, sentence structure that is somewhat original. And it has PS1 Hagrid. No bot has PS1 Hagrid. You know why? Because no bot could ever know the greatness that is PS1 Hagrid, right? But like most of these guys are fucking bots. And like a thing that you'll notice is that people, most people like understand who everyone is. Also, like, remember that. Yeah, remember what? That, like, all the names that you said here, yeah? Nobody cares. Like, the thing, this happened a month ago. Asmongold briefly, like, mentioned it recently, right? Briefly mentioned it. Yeah, see, like, this is what actually happened. Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, this is kind of funny right here. But, like, this is the thing. Asmongold, was the face of OTK. But these guys are talking about, like, oh, he was fired. He wasn't fucking fired. He left. Right? He could have been fired, but he left. He chose to leave. There's a difference, right? In fact, it's probably better to be fired depending on what things are. So he actually gave himself an L financially by staying with them. By leaving them on his own volition. Believe it or not, getting fired means you can claim unemployment benefits and sometimes even like other forms of pay, right? There's residual pays as well, not just unemployment, that you can kind of ride off of, right? If you're fired, right? If you leave, you give those up, right? So think about that. He left. He gave that up. So now clearly he saw that there was benefit in just leaving flat out. And he clearly seems to have been doing well since he left flat out. But these guys are talking about all this bullshit about him being canceled and stuff. But yeah, it has nothing to do with that.
Very relaxed guy. Why? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why. I can talk about it just for a couple of minutes. But the main reason why is that, well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, like my content and doing like controversial political content is really hard to like kind of synthesize with content that's not like that because of just how extreme it is and how polarizing it is.
Oh, he said, I agree with him to a certain extent.
Yeah, this is the funny thing. Everyone watching this thing and being like, oh, Asmongold is a grifter. Like, this guy is a grifter. This guy is a grifter. That's how you know, right? Like, Asmongold is just being a person. And he's understanding that, yeah, maybe talking about politics all day isn't good for the company. So he leaves, right? That's why he left. Now, it turns out that had a negative impact because people like Asmongold, right? So people who don't give a shit left purely because of Asmongold. And it turns out that, apparently more people just don't give a shit than the people who give a shit enough that Asmongold's still on there, right? So that's what we learned, right? That's what we actually learned, is that Asmongold probably shouldn't have left and it would have been better for the company. But this is the thing. He left on his own volition. So, like, this is actually his doing. And it's fine. It turns out it's fine for him, and, the company's struggling right now, but they'll get better, right? But this is kind of the thing, right? That people are talking about how, oh, you shouldn't watch these guys anymore, right? Like, in here. Like, they're canceling people, who Asmongold left behind, right? They're blaming Emiru. Okay, this guy actually was joking. Okay, good. Like, okay, this is how you know that people here just aren't even fucking real half the time. Like, oh, yeah. Let's see. Like here's the thing. If you love Asmongold and this is the first time hearing of OTK, you didn't love Asmongold. Right? You don't love Asmongold if this is your first time hearing of OTK, right? Like this is pretty fucking blatant here. Yeah. Like this is the only guy that seems to have sense. Rip OTK, long live the king. That's the funniest statement ever. Considering what one true king stands for, like, ugh. These guys are just fucking like blatantly not fans of Asmongold, pretending to be fans of Asmongold. All these tourists, right? In this cancel culture reject. Like, my guy, go back to the woke left. Leave the fucking right. We don't like you. Actually, like, the far right loves that guy, right? Like, the far right loves that guy. Not the Trump sphere. That's not the far right. You want to know who the far right is? The far right is people like fucking Rick Santorum, Mitt Romney, right? Like those guys, you know? Newt Gingrich and shit. But yeah. I just kind of find this drama funny on all sides. Congrats on Asmongold for just being himself and pissing off all the right people. I tip my hat off to you. Thank you. Continue doing that, please.